The silver door locked with a heavy click. Inside the silence, the bond snapped into place, instant, electric, and terrifying. Her wolf whispered one single word: mate. She told it to shut up. 18 years. That is how long she had been invisible. She was a ghost, a myth. The last white wolf of a bloodline slaughtered 60 years ago. The Northern Council hunted her for breeding. Hadrian Frost wanted to own her. But no one ever asked what she wanted. Now the hiding is over. Her carefully dyed fur has betrayed her. She is no longer invisible. She is the most hunted prey in the north. And her captor? Matthias Coldiron, the arbitrator. The most powerful wolf in the territory. He locked her in his underground den and called it protection. Her mind screams kidnapper. Her body screams mate. With her heat cycle only 10 days away and an army coming for her blood, she faces an impossible choice. Let the man she is destined for die, or let the world see the monster she has been hiding all along. Chapter 1. The Frozen River. The bond snapped into place the second he locked the silver door, and her wolf knew immediately, mate. She told it to shut up. She'd hidden her white wolf for 18 years, surviving by being invisible while the Northern Council hunted her bloodline for their breeding program. Hadrian Frost wanted her lineage restored, wanted to own what remained of something slaughtered 60 years ago. Everyone wanted her. No one bothered asking what she wanted. The border guard's silver powder revealed her carefully dyed fur, turning it white in seconds, and suddenly, 18 years of careful hiding were shattered. White wolf, last of a bloodline slaughtered in the Great Purge. She ran, made it halfway to the frozen river before Matthias Coldiron caught her. The arbitrator, most powerful wolf in the north. He didn't arrest her, which would have been simpler. Instead, he locked her in his underground den and claimed it was for her protection. 14 days until the council's hunt sweep. 10 days until her heat cycle drew every male wolf within 20 miles. Her wolf whispered mate with absolute certainty, while her mind screamed kidnapper with equal conviction. Fate didn't care about consent, and the bond pulled relentlessly. She fought it with everything she had. But when Hadrian's forces came for her, bleeding and desperate, she'd face an impossible choice. Let her mate die, or let the world see the white wolf they'd been hunting for nearly 2 decades. Either way, hiding was over. The checkpoint appeared through the ice fog just after midday, routine and familiar after 3 years of border crossings. Her pulse climbed despite her careful control as the guard approached, silver powder visible in his belt pouch. New protocol she'd heard whispers about, but hadn't seen implemented yet. Routine inspection, miss. New protocol requires silver powder screening. She kept her voice steady, hands relaxed at her sides where he could see them. Of course, my papers are in order. The translator's credentials were perfect forgeries, good enough to survive 3 years of scrutiny. She'd memorized every detail, practiced every answer until they felt like truth. Just a formality, won't take a second. I understand completely. He dusted her sleeve with the powder, and for one heartbeat, everything seemed fine. The dyed brown fur should have stayed brown, should have protected her as it had for 18 years. Then the color shifted, bleeding away to reveal impossible white underneath. Everyone froze. "White wolf," the guard breathed, and the words hung in the frozen air like a death sentence. 2 seconds of absolute silence stretched into 3. Then his hand jerked toward his radio, and she was already moving, survival instinct overriding thought. She bolted through the ice fog while his voice crackled behind her. "Code Red! White Wolf at checkpoint 7, heading north toward the river!" His transmission faded as distance swallowed the words, but the damage was done. Howls erupted in response, multiple wolves converging, and the council patrol launched their hunt with the efficiency of predators who'd been waiting years for exactly this moment. Her scent trail blazed behind her, winter snow layered with panic, and terror made it spread wider with every stride. They'd follow it easily despite the fog, track her through scent alone, across miles of frozen territory where she had nowhere to hide. The river, cross the water, break the trail. It was her only chance. Her wolf clawed for control, demanding a shift with increasing desperation. The instinct screamed at her, shift, run faster, 4 legs instead of 2. She fought it down brutally. White fur would be visible for miles across the ice fields, a beacon drawing every hunter straight to her position. She kept moving on 2 legs, fingers going numb and mouth dry with exertion, while the frozen river stretched ahead through the fog. Almost there, just a little farther. The ice fog swallowed everything beyond 3 feet of visibility, which meant she couldn't see them, but they couldn't see her either. Small mercy. Her scent still betrayed her with every gasping breath, spreading through the air like smoke signals announcing her exact location. 1 second, the river ahead looked clear. Next, he was standing on the ice, massive even in human form, his white-blue coat marking him as Ice Wolf bloodline, and his scent hit her before she fully processed his presence. Frozen stone layered with iron and something ancient underneath. Cold, absolute, undeniable. Her wolf stopped fighting and went perfectly still, not with fear, but with sudden, intense interest. The word detonated through her mind like thunder. Mate. She rejected it immediately, violently. Absolutely not. Not now, not him, not ever. She skidded to a halt 3 feet from where he stood blocking her path, hands rising instinctively in a gesture meant to look harmless. Her hands shook for the first time today, a negative reaction entirely, and something in his ice-blue eyes registered the fear she was trying to hide. "You're coming with me." His voice carried command underneath the words, alpha authority that her wolf wanted to obey on pure instinct. She told it to fuck off and held her ground. "I'm not going to the council." Silence stretched between them, while he studied her with an intensity that made her skin prickle, waiting for something, though she couldn't guess what. "I know," he said finally, and confusion replaced terror with something potentially worse. "Then what? Where?" The words tangled as she tried to process what he meant, already shifting her weight to run past him. He moved with startling speed for his size and blocked her path effortlessly, not rough, but completely immovable. "Somewhere safe." "Safe doesn't have silver doors," she shot back, because she'd seen enough dens to know how they were built, knew that safety and captivity often looked identical from the inside. He grabbed her arm. An electric shock blazed through the contact point, every nerve firing at once, her temperature spiking so fast she felt dizzy with it. She jerked against his grip but couldn't break free. It does when threats exist. "You're the threat," she managed, though her voice came out weaker than she'd intended. "No." Simple, certain, infuriating, suffocating and inescapable, while her wolf went silent with absolute certainty. Mate, ours, she argued back furiously. It didn't listen. You grabbed me. You were running toward death. Ice breaks 2 miles north of here. How do you... I know this territory better than you know your own heartbeat. Let go. No. I said let go. Not until you're inside and safe. The den materialized through the fog like something from a nightmare. An underground entrance carved into the ice, a silver-reinforced door that looked designed to keep something dangerous contained. Every instinct screamed trap, screamed run, screamed fight. She should have fought harder, should have shifted despite the visibility risk, should have done anything except what she actually did. She complied. 18 years of survival instinct, the compliance that had kept her alive and invisible, betrayed her now by keeping her docile when she should have been feral. He guided her down carved ice steps with his hand still on her arm, generating heat where skin met skin that felt fundamentally wrong. Her wolf didn't think it was wrong at all. Traitor. What is this place? He didn't answer, just kept guiding her deeper. Answer me. A den. Obviously, whose den? Her voice pitched higher with mounting panic. Mine. Why am I here? Because the alternative is considerably worse. The door locked behind them with a click that sounded final and terrible. Silver walls reflecting cold light and ice visible through small windows carved into the ceiling. No other exit. Just him, standing between her and the only way out. Her wolf surged against her control, panic shift threatening, and for one wild moment she wondered if the council wouldn't actually be worse. 3 years of forced breeding versus a lifetime of running. Maybe she should have just surrendered at the checkpoint. Maybe... No. That was fear talking. Compliance talking. The part of her that had spent 18 years erasing herself to survive. Let me out. Her voice shook despite her best efforts, throat tight enough that swallowing hurt. He didn't move, didn't speak, just watched her with those ice blue eyes that seemed to see straight through every defense she'd built. His scent, frozen stone and iron and winter itself, filled the enclosed space until she couldn't escape it. The full moon rose somewhere above the ice, invisible but undeniable, and its pull dragged at her bones with increasing insistence. Her wolf clawed harder. Her control started cracking. Not here, not in front of him. She couldn't lose control here. Her bones began to crack. Chapter 2. The Shift. Moonlight filtered through the ice window above, and the silver door remained locked. The walls pressed inward with each passing second, the enclosed space growing smaller in her perception as her pulse hammered harder, dragging her closer to losing the control she'd maintained for 18 years. She fought the shift with everything she had, digging fingernails into her palms hard enough to draw blood and counting breaths in careful rhythm. 1, 2, 3. Her wolf didn't care about breathing exercises or pain distractions. It wanted out, wanted freedom, wanted the moon's call answered immediately. Matthias stood against the far wall, watching her struggle, offering no help, letting her fight this battle alone. Let me out! Her voice came rough with desperation. Silence. Please, I can't. The moon. No. I'll die in here. You won't. The shift seized her mid-protest and dragged her under. Bones cracked with sounds like breaking branches, wrong angles snapping into new configurations as her spine curved impossibly. Vertebrae popped one by one, while cartilage tore and reformed itself, and the sounds filled the den with wet, organic violence. Her hands slammed against cold stone as fingers curled inward, black claws erupting through nail beds, sharp enough to scratch the ice beneath her. Fur exploded through her skin, white and thick with winter coat, her mother's coloring that she'd spent 18 years hiding, her face elongated as her jaw snapped forward, teeth sharpening into instruments made for tearing flesh. His scent hit her wolf nose with overwhelming intensity, cedar and winter stone filling every breath. Alpha, mate. The words reverberated through her shifted consciousness with primal certainty. 30 seconds from human to wolf, and it felt like dying and being reborn simultaneously. She landed on 4 paws, panting and raw and finally free after 18 years of caging. Her wolf surged with joy at the release, while her human mind screamed in panic about where they were, how they'd gotten trapped. She threw herself at the silver door once, twice, burns searing her paws where they contacted the metal. She didn't care about the pain. Claws scraped against the door's surface as she howled, pure rage, not pain, while he stood motionless and watched. Like he was studying her, a scientist observing a specimen, Alpha assessing a threat. Her wolf hated him for the cage. The human part drowned in confusion about why he'd locked her up at all. Her wolf also wanted him with desperate intensity. Mate. The contradiction made her howl again, longer and more anguished. She clawed at the door until her paws bled, howled until her throat went raw, repeated the pattern until exhaustion finally claimed her. The shift back took longer than the shift forward, gradual and painful as bones reshaped themselves to human configurations. Fur retracted into skin that felt too sensitive, too exposed. She ended up naked on the stone floor with bloody knuckles and torn paws, shaking from cold and exertion. She looked up to find him holding a blanket, still keeping his distance instead of approaching while she was vulnerable. Respecting the space she hadn't asked for but desperately needed. Your wolf is beautiful. His voice was quiet and genuine, which made her want to kill him even more. She's dying in here. Her throat felt raw from howling, from rage, from the futility of fighting silver doors. He didn't apologize, just extended the blanket toward her without moving closer. She took it and hated herself for accepting anything from him, but the cold bit too deep to refuse. His scent saturated the fabric, cedar and winter claiming her even through the cloth. Why? One word containing 1,000 questions she didn't have the energy to articulate. Safe. One word offering no real explanation. This isn't safe. This is a cage. Better than the alternative. You don't know what the alternative is. Don't I? The silence stretched heavy between them while she wrapped the blanket tighter around her nakedness. He'd seen her shift, seen everything, and neither of them addressed the intimacy of that observation. The awkwardness hung thick enough to taste. Maybe he was right, whispered a traitorous part of her mind. Maybe this cage really was safer than running. Maybe she should just comply again, accept whatever protection he offered. She shoved the thought away violently. How long? 14 days. Then what? Then they take you anyway. Voices drifted down through the ventilation shaft, sound carrying in ice dens through architectural design or flaw. They both froze as multiple scents filtered down with the words: pack authority, council formality, danger. The White Wolf was sighted at checkpoint 7, breeding program violation. The male voice sounded formal and distant, announcing facts rather than making accusations. Her pulse spiked so hard she felt dizzy. 14 days to produce legal grounds, arbitrator, or I claim her myself. A different voice, older and glacial. Hadrian Frost. And the threat in his words made her blood run cold. Matthias's shoulders tensed in the only visible reaction he showed. The mate bond exemption. A third voice, cautious and questioning. Her breath stopped completely. Exemption. A way out. Legal protection. Only applies if claimed and witnessed before the council. Has the arbitrator made such a claim? Silence from above. Hadrian knew the answer already. The question was rhetorical and territorial, establishing dominance through the asking. She should have spoken then, should have asked about the exemption and what it meant and what it required. Pride kept her silent. Fear kept her frozen. She knew it was a mistake even as she made it, but couldn't force words through the tightness in her throat. You heard. Matthias spoke to her directly, a statement rather than a question. She nodded, mouth too dry for speech. Her wolf whispered, mine, mate, want with absolute certainty. Her human mind screamed, kidnapper, cage, hate, with equal conviction. Her wolf didn't care about logic, or silver doors, or breeding programs, or legal exemptions. Both feelings existed simultaneously, true and impossible and undeniable. Footsteps approached from above, multiple wolves descending the den stairs. Matthias moved with liquid speed to position himself between her and the door. Pure instinct, alpha protecting mate before conscious thought could intervene. A knock sounded against the silver door, formal and respectful. Arbitrator, council requests your presence regarding the White Wolf matter. Matthias didn't look away from her face when he answered. 10 minutes. The footsteps retreated up the stairs and away, leaving them alone again in the weighted silence. She stood slowly, still wrapped in his blanket, with his scent clinging to her skin now, mixing with hers to create something that smelled like pack, like mates, like belonging. You're going up there. Not a question. He nodded. Don't leave this den. Command woven through alpha voice. Her wolf wanted to obey so badly she could taste the desire. She glared at him instead. I'll do what I want. His shoulders tensed tighter, control visibly slipping for a moment before he locked it down again. 14 days. Wren, that's all we have to find a way out of this. He knew her name. She'd never told him her name, never revealed that piece of herself, and his casual use of it made her realize he'd done research before locking her up, before catching her, before any of this began. She didn't ask how he knew, didn't want to know how long he'd been watching, how much he'd learned while she thought she was invisible. He left without another word, footsteps echoing up the stairs, and the silver door locked behind him with that final, terrible click. Chapter 3. The Council's Claim. He returned 2 hours later with heavier footsteps than before, tension audible in his gait before she even saw him. She dressed in the clothes he'd left, too large, saturated with his scent woven into the fabric. She hated how much that comforted her wolf. The den felt impossibly small with both of them inside. He didn't sit, just paced in controlled rhythm, boots on stone, back and forth, back and forth. First visible crack in his iron control. She tracked the sound involuntarily, noting how the pattern broke occasionally, how his breathing changed with each turn. 14 days. She waited through his silence, patient despite the anxiety crawling up her spine. Then Hadrian claims you himself. You told them where I am. Not a question, pure accusation. They'd find you anyway. Would they? Yes. His pacing stopped, and she heard him turn to face her directly. You don't know that for certain. This buys time. Time for what, exactly? The pause stretched too long, his breathing pattern shifting to something uncertain. First time she'd heard actual doubt in him. To find a way out. Or to decide which cage I prefer. Her voice came flat and defeated. He started pacing again, louder and faster this time. Her wolf tracked the sound automatically. Mine, territory, alpha. And she told it viciously to shut up. It didn't listen. There is an exemption. She looked up sharply and waited. Mate bond exemption. Bonded wolves are exempt from the breeding program. No. Immediate and absolute. His footsteps stopped. It's the only legal... No! Louder this time. Listen to me. You don't get to cage me, then claim me. I'm not trying to claim. That's exactly what you're doing. Silence fell heavy, while she heard his jaw set, teeth grinding, muscles tensing as control slipped further. Paper only, legal protection, not real. Mate bonds don't work like that. It would be, can't fake the pheromone markers and you know it. He did know. She heard it in the quality of his silence, the way his breathing shifted toward defeat and frustration. Then what do you suggest? I don't. Wrong answer, and she knew it immediately. Cutting off her nose to spite her face, eliminating options out of pure stubbornness. She didn't care. Wouldn't be owned by him or anyone else, no matter how logical the alternative. Maybe I should accept the bond, whispered a traitorous part of her mind. Fake or not, better than Hadrian's breeding program. But then I'm still owned, still property, still the thing everyone else decides about. No good options existed. A knock sounded sharp and official against the door. Different footsteps approaching, lighter, beta rank, deference clear in the careful stride. Matthias moved to answer with controlled deliberation, every motion calculated. Council inspection. Need to verify the white wolf. The door opened and a guard entered, his heartbeat immediately irregular and faster when his eyes found her. Threat. Her wolf knew the difference between duty and hunger, between respectful observation and predatory interest. She backed up without conscious thought, spine stiffening as he stepped closer. His breathing pattern went wrong. Too interested, too focused, too invasive. Just need to... He reached toward her. The growl that erupted from Matthias was low and lethal, vibrating through stone and air and bones. Pure alpha command wrapped in violence barely leashed. The guard froze mid-reach, his heartbeat spiking with immediate fear. Out. One word carrying absolute authority, no question whether he'd be obeyed. The guard fled with scrambling footsteps, and the door slammed behind him. Silence crashed down, heavy and charged. Matthias stood breathing hard, every inhale ragged with fury, at himself, at his loss of control, at whatever instinct had made him react so violently to protect what he kept claiming wasn't his. She'd felt it, the protection, mate protecting mate. Her wolf had purred deep in her chest with satisfaction and safety. Mine. She'd heard her own satisfaction, felt how right it seemed when his growl filled the space around her. She was shaking now, not from fear, but from how much she'd wanted him to do exactly that. How safe it had felt. How desperately she wanted him to do it again. All true, simultaneously. Impossible. Don't. Her voice broke and came out small. Don't what? His voice still carried that rough alpha edge. Don't protect me like I'm yours. The pause stretched too long, while his breathing steadied with visible effort, intentional control reasserting itself. You are mine. Not possessive, just certain, like gravity, like truth, like something inevitable he'd already accepted, while she still fought against it. The words hung in the air between them, sound waves she couldn't unhear or take back or deny. Her wolf responded with yes, yes, finally. Her mind screamed, no, never, can't. She wanted to hit him, wanted him closer. Both feelings are equally true and equally impossible to act on. She should have argued, should have fought. Instead, her wolf went quiet, and she met his eyes where gold faded slowly back to blue. Your grandfather led the Great Purge. Her voice came steady and cold, cutting through the tension with historical fact. She'd been thinking while he was gone, remembering, connecting pieces. White wolves were slaughtered 60 years ago. Coldiron was the name on the execution orders. She'd learned them all by heart, memorized every death in her bloodline. He went completely still. Even his breathing stopped. How do you... I memorize everything. Pause. Wren, including the name of the man who systematically killed my entire bloodline. Silence stretched while she heard his teeth grind, his nostrils flare, breathing through the accusation like physical pain. I'm not him. No. She stepped closer, footsteps deliberate, claiming space in his den. You're just the grandson who locked me in a cage. Chapter 4. The Blood Debt. He didn't deny it, just stood there silent and guilty, accepting her rage like penance. She wanted him to deny it desperately, wanted him to say she was wrong, that his family wasn't responsible for genocide. He didn't offer comfortable lies. My grandfather led the purge. His voice came quiet, weighted with guilt he'd carried for years. Silence. She waited. I was 6 years old when it happened. Didn't understand what he'd done until much later. He showed her documents, then execution orders signed by Coldiron, listing every name from her bloodline. He'd kept them for 20 years, studying the evidence of his family's crimes. 347 wolves. She read through the names with a voice that broke on some. Her great-grandmother, her great-aunt, cubs too young to have done anything except exist with white fur. My entire bloodline. I know. You kept the execution orders. 20 years, hunting down everyone who helped him carry out those orders. His breathing stayed steady and controlled despite the guilt visible in every line of his body. This doesn't make us even. Her voice came raw and shaking. I know. He didn't look away, didn't flinch from her rage, just accepted it as deserved. But I can keep you alive. That's not redemption. No, it's penance. Not romance, not love, just function, debt, and guilt trying to balance scales that could never be even. She wanted to forgive him, couldn't forgive him. Both feelings existed simultaneously and tore at her with equal strength. He had books spread across the stone table, pack law, treaties, council precedents. They sat inches apart while hours passed in silence, broken only by turning pages. Her body remained hyper-aware of every breath he took, hearing his lungs expand and contract despite trying not to track the sound. Too close. She shifted away, but it didn't help. She still heard him, still felt his presence like heat against her skin. She tracked his movements involuntarily whenever he stood, whenever he leaned close to read over her shoulder. Wolf watching. She couldn't tell anymore if it was a predator assessing a threat or mate monitoring safety. Fire crackled low in the corner, steady and purposeful. She found it buried in subsection 3 of the mate bond laws. Blood test required to verify pheromone markers. He looked up, and she heard his attention shift fully to her, breathing pattern changing. Can't fake the biological markers that prove a true bond. I know. You already knew this. Statement and accusation combined. Yes. The page turning stopped as his hand went still against the paper. So paper claiming won't actually work. No. Which means we're trapped. Flat, defeated, seeing the cage from every angle. Not yet. Determined despite having no visible plan, just a refusal to surrender. Maybe I should accept Hadrian's claim, she thought with sudden exhaustion. Stop fighting. 18 years of hiding had been easier than this constant battle. She shoved the thought away before it could take root. Their hands touched accidentally over the legal text, and both froze. Neither pulled away immediately, caught in the moment of contact. Then both jerked back at once in synchronized awkwardness. She didn't ask what that meant. He didn't explain. A knock interrupted them. New guard, different footsteps, lighter approach. White Wolf summoned to council meal tonight. Mandatory attendance. Matthias stood so fast his chair scraped stone. No. Immediate and protective. Hadrian's orders, sir. She's not going. Refusal equals resistance to council authority. The pause felt like a trap closing. Immediate forfeiture to breeding program. Perfect trap. She heard it in the silence, felt it in her bones. She had to go. Had to be displayed like a prize. Let them all see what she'd spent 18 years hiding. He gave her clothes, white and formal, designed to emphasize exactly what she was. She stared at them in her hands. I can't do this. You can. 200 wolves, all staring at me. Her spine stiffened and her jaw set against the terror building in her chest. I'll be there. His voice tried to offer comfort. But not with me. She heard the fear in her own voice and hated it. Council protocol requires... I know. I'll be completely alone. Wren, don't. Just don't. She took the clothes and walked away, footsteps echoing small and scared in the enclosed space. You're stronger than you think. She didn't answer, didn't ask for help preparing, thinking maybe if she stayed quiet it would be easier. Maybe they'd somehow forget she existed. Wrong. She knew it was wrong even as she tried to make herself invisible again. Old habits die hard. The council hall was massive, ice walls rising toward darkness, torches crackling with fire sounds everywhere. 200 wolves filled the space, and she heard them before seeing them. Heartbeats by the hundreds. Conversations, laughter, and movement create a wall of sound. Every sound stopped when she entered. Absolute silence crashed down. Every eye turned toward her. White hair and pale skin made it impossible to hide what she was, even in human form. Hadrian's voice cut through the silence from his position at the head table. The last white wolf. Welcome, child. Smiling, welcoming, gentle. Monster wearing an elder's kindness like a mask. Please, sit. The seat to his right. Honor seat, ownership seat, display position. She sat because she had no choice. Matthias stood across the hall at the opposite end, too far to reach, too far to protect. She heard his breathing though, tight and controlled, and furious with enforced helplessness. His eyes never left her. Wolves began circling, footsteps coming closer from all directions. Too many, inhaling deep to catalog her scent like she was an object to be studied. One reached out and simply touched her hair without asking permission. Just reached out and touched, like she wasn't a person who could refuse. Her wolf snarled silently inside her chest, every muscle tensing against the violation. She stayed silent externally. Compliance. If she were quiet, maybe the touching would stop. The touching didn't stop. Another hand landed on her shoulder while breathing came close to her neck. Violation layered on violation. Matthias's chair scraped loudly across the hall. He stood, and every wolf in the room heard the dominance in that simple motion, the challenge barely leashed. Enough. One word carrying absolute alpha command and authority. The hands withdrew immediately. Wolves stepped back. Hadrian laughed softly and pleased from his seat beside her. Protective already, arbitrator? She's not yours yet. Yet. The word hung in the air like a promise and a threat. Chapter 5. The Choice. They returned to the den just past 2 a.m, and she went straight to the stone basin to scrub her skin raw. Couldn't get their touches off. Couldn't get the memory of violation out of her mind, while her chest tightened with rage and shame. Her wolf kept snarling internally, furious at the disrespect, at being treated like a sacred relic instead of a person. Matthias sat against the far wall and hadn't spoken since they'd left the hall. His silence felt louder than words, heavy with all the things he couldn't say about watching helplessly while council protocol trapped them both. The blanket, his blanket, still lay on the stone bench where she'd left it. She should wash it, remove his scent, and establish boundaries. She didn't. Her wolf found comfort in it, and she was too tired to fight every instinct tonight. Mistake. She knew it was a mistake to keep taking comfort from something that belonged to him. You said you couldn't control your wolf. She stopped scrubbing and looked at him. You lied. Not an accusation, just observation, stated as fact. She felt exhausted down to her bones. Yes. Why bother lying now when everything else had been stripped away? Why? Shifting meant being seen. And? Being seen meant death. Simple truth she'd lived for 18 years. He went quiet, processing the implications. Show me. Command wrapped in softness, challenge, and request combined. She should have refused. Why? I need to see what you've been hiding. See what? The control you claimed you didn't have. She breathed deep and nodded once. Called her wolf deliberately. It came easily and eagerly, like it had been waiting 18 years for permission to be seen. Instinct sang finally, yes, free as the shift flowed through her. The transformation was smooth this time, practiced, perfected, completely controlled. Bones glided into new positions without cracking or pain. Fur bloomed white and thick across her body. Her spine extended gracefully and naturally. 10 seconds from human to wolf, and it felt like freedom. She sat calmly in wolf form, watching him with clear eyes, completely in control of every movement and thought. Her wolf mind stayed calm, choosing trust, demonstrating mastery instead of panic. She walked to him slowly and deliberately, letting him see every inch of what she'd hidden. White wolf, last of her kind, living proof of 18 years of survival and perfect control. She sat at his feet because she chose to, not because he commanded it. His hand hovered over her head without touching, waiting for permission she hadn't given yet. Mine. The word detonated through him like thunder. Pure instinct, absolute certainty, no logic or reason, just knowing beyond doubt that she was his. He didn't say it aloud. Too soon. She'd run if he spoke that truth before she was ready to hear it. But his wolf roared inside his chest, and his eyes flashed gold bright enough for her to see. She saw, knew exactly what it meant. Didn't run. The shift back came smoothly and controlled, demonstrating the same mastery in reverse. She stood before him, naked and unashamed. I've always had control. He stared while processing what this revelation meant about everything he'd assumed. I just never had safety to show it. The words landed between them like a confession. I didn't know. Understanding dawned across his face. She wasn't weak or unable. She'd been hunted, and survival required hiding strength instead of weakness. No one knew. That was the point. She felt exhausted and done with hiding, simultaneously proud of proving her control and terrified of what came next. Both emotions are consuming her equally. Silence stretched heavy and awkward, neither knowing what happened now that the truth was visible. We could claim the bond on paper. She looked up sharply. Legal protection only, without the bond actually being... without it being real? She was considering it for the first time, actually weighing the option instead of rejecting it outright. Would it even work? Maybe. Maybe I should let him claim me, she thought. Paper or real, does it matter if I'm trapped either way? She stumbled then. Wrong. Heat flooded through her. In snow. Too early by 10 full days. Stress triggered. No, not now. Her stomach dropped, then twisted with nausea. Everything felt wrong in her body. He moved fast and caught her before she fell, his hands on her skin generating electric shocks. Wrong. Right. Both sensations simultaneously. Your heat. His nostrils flared as he caught the scent, fighting his own response visibly. She watched him lose the battle against instinct. 10 days early. She shook with terror. They'll smell it. Every male wolf within 20 miles. I know. They'll all come. Her wolf demanding, his wolf answering, the pull between them undeniable. Then let me go. I'll run. I'm fast enough to... You won't make it 3 miles. Truth. Brutal and simple. He knew. She knew. The blanket, his blanket, she'd been sleeping with instead of washing, should have maintained boundaries. Too late now, she'd made everything worse by saturating herself in his scent. "Don't," she was begging. "Don't touch me. The bond will trigger and—" I know, but he didn't let go. Held her while fighting himself, fighting the pull, alpha control barely holding against biological imperative. Her hackles rose before she consciously understood why. Instinct screaming danger, threat, predator. Footsteps overhead. Multiple wolves, coming closer. Hadrian's wolves were approaching, like predators closing in on wounded prey. Hadrian's voice carried through the den ceiling, too close and too knowing. "Arbitrator, I can smell her heat from here." Terrible pause. This changes the timeline considerably. Chapter 6. The Truth. Hadrian left after an hour of testing the silver doors, walking the perimeter, smiling at her through the ice window with promises to return soon. 7 days now, arbitrator. Heat cycle accelerates everything. We'll discuss suitable breeding matches tomorrow. Matthias slammed the door after Hadrian's departure, the first time she'd seen him completely lose control. She shook with heat rolling through her in waves, his presence simultaneously helping and hurting, as instinct demanded and denied in equal measure. "Why did you lock me up?" He paced like a caged animal, refusing to look at her directly. "Why not ask first? Why not give me any choice in this?" He stopped and looked at her finally. "Because you would have run." "You don't actually know that." "Yes, I do." Instinct had told him before she'd known herself, read her patterns before she'd even arrived at the checkpoint. "So you made my choice for me?" Bitter accusation in every word. "Yes." No apology. She wanted one desperately, wouldn't get it. "You imprisoned me to feel better about what your family did to mine." "No." "Then why?" "My grandfather destroyed your bloodline. I won't let Hadrian finish what was started 60 years ago." Not romance. Obligation. Debt. Penance trying to balance unbalancing scales. "I'm not your redemption project." She knew his guilt intimately now, felt it radiating from him in waves, 20 years of it buried under control, but always there. Instinct read what words didn't say. Silence fell heavy between them. She told him, finally, the truth she'd never spoken aloud. "I watched my parents die." His pacing stopped completely. "I was 14. Border raid. Wren. I froze. Didn't run. Didn't fight." Her voice broke on the admission. "I just stood there and watched them die." "You were 14 years old." "I've been freezing ever since." Pause while she struggled to breathe normally. "Surviving, complying, erasing myself bit by bit." She looked at him directly. "I'm tired of just surviving." "I've been so busy surviving that I forgot to actually live," she realized. "Compliance kept me breathing, but it didn't keep me alive." He crossed the den slowly, giving her time to move away if she wanted. She didn't move. "Then stop surviving and start living." She moved first, kissed him, not gentle, but angry and desperate. 18 years of hiding compressed into one moment. The heat, the bond, everything. He responded carefully at first, then not carefully at all. His hands tangled in her hair while her hands pressed against his chest, and the bond flared between them. Electric, undeniable, real. Wrong timing. Absolutely the worst possible timing, with the heat cycle making everything harder and more complicated. Mistake. She knew it was a mistake, even as she did it. Meant it anyway. She pulled back, breathing hard. Don't think this means I forgive you. He was breathing hard too. I don't. They stood there breathing at each other, while neither understood what this meant, and neither wanted to discuss it yet. Awkward. Good. They understood each other perfectly. The ache when they separated felt physical and wrong. The bond pulling, demanding proximity with increasing insistence. I have to attend the council meeting. She knew before he spoke. Instinct had already told her, felt him preparing to leave. Don't leave this den. Alpha command woven through the words. She glared, despite the pull to obey. I'll do what I want. His chest tightened, and muscles coiled visibly as control slipped. They threatened my position. Your arbitrator position. If I lose it... He didn't finish, but she understood. Pack war. The weight of it crashed down on her. Yes, hundreds die if the arbitrator position falls vacant. Because of me, the guilt felt crushing. Not because of you, because they're using you as leverage. Pause, while they both process the implications. How long will you be gone? 4 hours. The separation pain was already starting. She felt it building in her chest as instinct screamed wrong. Stay. Need. He felt it too. She saw it in his eyes, the way his jaw tightened against the same pull. He left, and the den door closed behind him. She counted time in minutes. 1, 5, 10. The ache intensified with each passing minute. Separation pain. The bond demands proximity. Real. Undeniable. Her chest tightened until breathing hurt. Everything felt fundamentally wrong without him present. She paced through his scent that saturated every surface, but it didn't help, made it worse by reminding her he wasn't actually there. She lay on the blanket, his blanket, and breathed him in desperately. 4 hours. She could survive 4 hours of separation. She'd meant the kiss, didn't forgive him, wanted to do it again. All true. Simultaneously. Impossible. The ventilation shaft carried voices down from above. Council meeting. She froze and listened. Hadrian's voice came clear through the ice. The arbitrator is compromised. Mate bond suspected. Blood test required for verification. Her stomach dropped straight through the floor. Blood test. They'd know. They'd prove it. They'd use it. Matthias stayed silent for a long, damning moment. If confirmed, he's disqualified from arbitration authority. I'll assume direct control over the white wolf. She stopped breathing. A blood test would prove the bond. Couldn't fake pheromone markers. They'd test. They'd know. They'd take him away from the position that protected them both. She'd be alone with Hadrian and his breeding program. The ache intensified to pain. Bond pulling. Demanding. She needed him there. Now. 4 hours felt impossible suddenly. She wouldn't last 4 hours of the separation. Chapter 7. The Challenge. Dawn broke cold and uncertain when he returned. Bloodied knuckles. The council meeting had lasted all night. He wouldn't meet her eyes. What happened? She stood and moved toward him, despite the part of her that wanted to maintain distance. He set papers on the table without speaking. "What are these?" "Challenge documents." Her body went cold, ice flooding her veins instantly. "You challenged Hadrian to formal combat?" "Yes. Without asking me first?" Shaking with fury and terror combined. "I knew you'd try to stop me." He was right. She absolutely would have tried. "He's 240 years old, thousands of battles worth of experience." "I know. You're going to die." "Maybe, but it buys 7 more days." He was going to lose, and they both knew it, but he was doing it anyway. "This is insane." "It's already done." "Then undo it." "Can't. Ancient law. Once invoked, challenge stands." "You should have asked me." "You would have said no." Truth she couldn't deny. Maybe I should have stopped him, she thought. Maybe I could have prevented this. I froze again, just like with my parents, watched instead of acting. The challenge ground was an ice arena, cold, with breath visible in clouds. 200 wolves gathered to watch. Wren was forced to attend as the prize, and she hated every second of it. Heat spiked through her suddenly, and her wolf wanted to bite him right there, mark him, make everyone know mine. She fought the urge, but couldn't make the thought leave. Hadrian entered confidently, his presence reading cold and ancient and perfectly controlled after centuries of survival. Matthias entered determined, his heat signature different from every other wolf present. She'd know him in a crowd of thousands now. Unique. Mate. The referee stepped forward with formal bearing. First to draw substantial blood ends the challenge. Shift on my mark. Ancient protocol. Entertainment for bloodthirsty crowds. The gathered wolves roared approval. She tried to stop it desperately. "Wait! You have to stop this!" They ignored her completely. She was the prize, not a participant with agency. She was forced to watch helplessly. Mistake. She should have fought harder, screamed louder, physically thrown herself between them. Instead, she froze, with compliance instinct taking over. Again. Both shifted simultaneously. Ice wolf versus ancient wolf. Both massive and powerful, and matched in ways that promised bloodshed. The fight was brutal from the first collision. Matthias moved faster, Hadrian fought smarter, evenly matched in ways that made the outcome unpredictable. Crimson splashed hot against ice, temperature contrast stark enough to see in the cold air. Ice cracked beneath them with the force of their impacts. She couldn't watch, couldn't look away. Her wolf howled internally. Mate in danger, protect him, can't reach, helpless against tradition and protocol. Matthias got Hadrian down with a move she didn't see coming. First substantial injury. Victory by ancient rules. The crowd went silent with shock. Hadrian yielded formally, and Matthias stood, barely, bleeding from a dozen wounds, his body temperature spiking with dangerous fever. Then he collapsed. She ran without thinking, and the pack parted for her instinctively, the first time she'd been voluntarily close to any of them. She didn't care about fear or exposure anymore. She dropped to her knees beside him in the stained ice. His heat burned against her hands where she touched him, too hot, fevered, dangerously wrong. "You idiot!" Tears came for the first time in 3 years, hot against her frozen cheeks. "You beautiful, stupid idiot." His hand found her face despite his condition, burning hot against her skin. 7 days. I bought you 7 more days. She felt furious he'd fought, grateful he'd won, terrified he was hurt, all at once, impossible combination but entirely true. He sat up despite clearly lacking the strength, pure will forcing his body upright. Then he knelt before her, in front of everyone watching. The arbitrator knelt to no one in living memory except her. "Tell me how to fix this." Total submission laid bare before 200 witnesses. "I'll do whatever you need." She felt stunned. This male, most powerful wolf in the entire territory, was on his knees before her by choice. A pack elder gasped audibly. "The arbitrator kneels," someone else whispered. "He submitted to her, publicly." Silence fell, complete and absolute. Everything had changed in that moment. Her voice broke when she spoke. "Don't fight for me anymore. Fight with me." She helped him stand with his weight heavy against her, his temperature dropping rapidly in a bad sign. They walked toward the den while the pack parted respectfully, witnessing the submission they'd never expected to see. Hadrian watched with fury, trapped behind ancient law. 7 days, arbitrator. His voice followed them. Then she becomes mine, regardless. They reached the den, and he collapsed on the stone floor immediately. Crimson everywhere, hot and too much, spreading across cold stone. Her knees buckled and she dropped beside him, pressing her hands desperately to the worst wound on his chest, while his life poured through her fingers. "Matthias!" She couldn't stop the flow, no matter how hard she pressed. "Stay with me!" She couldn't save him, couldn't stop this. "Matthias!" His eyes opened unfocused before clarity returned briefly. Worth it. Then consciousness left him, temperature plummeting as cold flooded where warmth should be. She'd thrown herself at silver doors before in wolf form. Now she'd claw through solid ice if it would help. Anything. No choice anymore. Impossible choice. Save him or stay hidden. Couldn't be both. She shifted without thinking or planning. White wolf. Threw her head back. Owled! Raw and desperate, a plea for help that echoed through ice tunnels and the entire compound. "Someone help him! Anyone! Please!" She didn't care who saw, didn't care who knew. He was dying, and nothing else mattered. The howl reached 200 wolves still gathered outside. The white wolf, calling for help, for him. Chapter 8. The Cost. The pack healer arrived within minutes, an old female who didn't speak, just worked efficiently. Stitches, herbs, hours of careful attention. Wren stayed in wolf form throughout, pacing restlessly because she couldn't shift back yet. Too afraid. If she became human again and he was dead, she'd shatter completely. Cold settled everywhere without his warmth. Separation temperature. Fundamentally wrong in ways that made her bones ache. The healer, finally. He'll live, probably. Then she left without further comment. Wren shifted back naked and covered in his crimson, but she didn't care about exposure or vulnerability. She cleaned wounds the healer couldn't reach, hands on his skin, checking his temperature constantly. Fever burned too hot and too dangerously. She monitored it with obsessive attention, intimate without being sexual, just a desperate need to keep him alive. She'd never been this close to anyone since her parents died. Trust built in silence. She trusted him not to die. He trusted her to keep him breathing. Partnership forming without words. She talked to him while he stayed unconscious, told him about her parents, the translation work she'd done, places she'd seen during 18 years of lonely hiding. Loneliness poured out in confession she couldn't take back once he woke. Mistake, making herself vulnerable. No defenses left when he regained consciousness. She said it all anyway. 3 hours later, she'd fallen asleep on the stone floor beside him, one hand resting on his chest, monitoring his heartbeat and temperature. His warm fingers touched her hair gently. She woke and jerked her hand away instinctively. He noticed, but said nothing. Awkward silence. His eyes opened, unfocused initially, then clearing. You stayed. You're alive. Relief flooded through her, and warmth replaced the cold immediately. He was back, the bond restored. Thank you. Genuine gratitude, his hand finding her face with gentle warmth. You're an idiot. I know. He smiled for the first time since she'd met him. Don't ever do that again. Can't promise that. Honest, at least. Then I can't promise to save you next time. Fair enough. They lay there breathing together, separation pain gone completely. Together felt right, heat returning where it belonged. Then footsteps overhead, multiple, too many. Cold flooded her instantly. Someone's coming. He tried sitting up and couldn't, too weak still. Stay down. If it's Hadrian, I'll handle it. A knock sounded formal, requesting entry rather than demanding. Matthias granted permission, barely able to stand, maintaining Alpha protocol through sheer will. Hadrian entered alone, surprising choice. He didn't enter with hunger or threat. He entered with grief. My daughter was a white wolf. His voice broke on the words. He showed them a small blanket made from white wolf fur, old, worn from handling, all he had left of her. 6 years old when they killed her in the purge. Tears tracked down his ancient face, genuine and raw. My mate died of grief 2 years later. I couldn't save either of them. Silence fell heavy with the weight of his loss. I failed her. I won't fail you. He believed it completely, meant every word, thought he was saving her through control she never asked for. She realized with sudden clarity, he wasn't a simple villain. He was a victim of villainous things while calling them protection. She wanted to hate Hadrian, understood his grief. Both feelings are real and true simultaneously. I don't need saving. Her voice came clear and firm. I need choices. You'll understand someday when you have cubs of your own. Condescending, despite his genuine grief. I already understand that forcing someone doesn't equal protecting them, no matter what you call it. Sharp and cutting. Hadrian left quietly, defeated in ways combat couldn't achieve. They were alone again, finally. 7 days. We need an actual solution this time. They planned together as equals, her legal knowledge from translation work, his combat tactics and pack politics experience. She strategized using the pack law she knew better than he did, after years of memorizing everything. He provided fighting knowledge and political maneuvering. Partnership solidified with every shared idea. If we accept the bond officially, he spoke carefully, watching her reaction. Real bond, not just paper. That's the only exemption that will hold up under testing. She was acknowledging the truth, finally. The bond already existed. Acceptance meant admitting reality instead of fighting it. I won't force you. Promise, she heard clearly. I know you won't. That's the problem. I'm actually considering it. Old instinct said hide, comply, submit to survive. A new part of her said fight, choose, live. She didn't know which was real survival anymore. They both heard it simultaneously. Ice cracking. Multiple locations around the compound. Hadrian's forces breached their defenses. 7 days weren't actually up yet. He'd lied about the timeline. Matthias tried standing, and his legs buckled, still too weak and wounded. She moved fast, positioning herself between him and the door. Her temperature spiked as her wolf surged forward. Heat built throughout her body as it prepared for what came next. Protect, mate. The door exploded inward, silver blown apart by force. 3 wolves poured through, shifting mid-entry, snarling with intent to kill. She had seconds to decide. Shift and reveal white fur visible for miles, ending 18 years of hiding permanently. Every pack would know, every hunter. Or die here with him. His voice came weak behind her. Run. She looked back at him, bleeding and dying, and hers. Her choice crystallized with perfect clarity. Old instinct. Hide, comply, survive. New choice. Fight, protect, live. Heat flooded through her as her wolf clawed forward, and she stopped holding it back completely. No! The wolves advanced. I'm done running forever. Chapter 9. The Claiming. She shifted with violence and rage, fueling the transformation. Fast, brutal, 18 years of caged fury released. Bones snapped into place, sharp and clean. Fur exploded white against ice, visible everywhere, for miles, undeniable. She didn't care anymore. Teeth, claws, protection, purpose. Her wolf was simple and perfect in its clarity. Mate. Protect mate. Kill threats. She didn't know where her wolf ended and she began. Didn't matter. They agreed. The 3 wolves hesitated when they saw her. A white wolf made real, a legend standing before them. She didn't give them time to process fear. Launched at the first wolf mid-leap. Teeth found throat, tore, hot liquid against ice. Moved immediately to the second wolf, white teeth, silver claws, brief and brutal, 18 years of restraint released in seconds. The third wolf ran smart and fast. She let him go. Turned back to Matthias on the ground, his hand reaching for her fur with warmth that meant alive. Wren. His voice pulled her back from wolf to human, the only thing that could have managed that transition. She shifted back immediately, standing over him, naked, covered in crimson that wasn't hers, still protecting. I've got you. You shifted where everyone could see. Pause. Both are breathing hard. Everyone will know now. I know. Wren. It's done. No taking it back. Footsteps approached. Multiple, hundreds. Every sense fired simultaneously. Scent, pack authority mingled with fear. 200 wolves are approaching. Sound, heartbeats by the hundreds, synchronized footfalls coming closer. Temperature, cold air carrying the body heat of masses. Instinct, threat, stand ground, protect. All of it aligned for the first time, wolf and human wanting identical things. Hadrian appeared with council members and the entire pack behind him. 200 wolves staring at the white wolf, crimson still visible on ice, on her hair, on her skin. Impossible to deny what she was anymore. He couldn't finish. Shock, then grief. She looked exactly like his daughter. White hair, pale skin, 6 years old when she died, standing before him 60 years later. He couldn't speak through the resemblance. She stood straighter over Matthias, claiming her position. "He's mine." Clear, loud enough for the pack to hear every word. "Touch him again and I'll kill you." She meant it absolutely. They knew she meant it. They'd witnessed her kill 2 wolves 30 seconds ago. "You don't understand what I'm trying to do." Hadrian's voice broke with desperate sincerity. "I'm trying to save you from what happened to her." Grief, desperation, real and painful. "I'm not your daughter." Her voice cut through his grief. "She's dead. I'm not her. I'm not your second chance. I'm mine." Pause. Certain for the first time in 18 years of hiding. "And I choose him." Hadrian went completely still. "You're choosing the arbitrator." Testing, disbelieving, unable to process this reversal. "You're claiming him?" "Yes." She helped Matthias stand, despite both of them being wounded and barely able to maintain balance. They stood together through sheer will. "I claim Matthias Coldiron as mate." Formal, ancient words, pack law, crystal clear. Witness this bond. Pack silence fell complete. 200 heartbeats waiting. "I accept." His voice came strong despite his wounds. He moved slowly and deliberately, biting her shoulder in front of Hadrian, council members and all witnesses. "Public claiming mark." His scent was soaking into her skin. Permanent, territorial, marking. Mine. First time he'd spoken it aloud. He meant it completely. She bit him back, harder and deeper than he'd bitten her. "Reversal. Both are marking each other. Traditional gender roles are abandoned. Equals." Her scent on him, his scent on her. The pack would smell both and recognize the mutual claim. Good. Yours. Mine. The pack elder stepped forward with a formal bearing. Bond witnessed, legally recognized under ancient law. Hadrian stood trapped by the very laws he tried to use against her, furious, defeated. The exemption holds. A long moment of staring while the implications settled. Then he nodded once. "The bond is witnessed and legal." His voice came hollow and defeated. "You're free from the breeding program." The words she'd wanted for 18 years. Free. But it didn't feel like she'd imagined. She felt terrified of visibility, despite choosing it deliberately. Both feelings are real. Matthias collapsed suddenly. She caught him as he fell. The pack healer rushed forward immediately. "Get him inside now before he loses more warmth." They carried him to the ruined den while she followed, covered in crimson. His, theirs, hers, mixed. The silver doors lay blown apart. No more cage. She could leave. Could run. 18 years of hiding are finally over with legal protection. She stayed instead. Knelt beside him while pack members rebuilt the entrance around them. His hand found hers weakly, still warm. "Thank you." He was thanking her for saving him. She laughed and cried simultaneously, breath catching. "I choose you." Her voice cracked. Not because fate said so. Because you knelt when no one else would. Because you bled for 7 days I didn't ask for. Because you asked what I wanted, and then you waited for my answer. He smiled with his eyes closed. Best answer I ever received. Chapter 10. The Beginning. 3 days later, he was healing with the speed wolf genetics provided. Still weak, but standing, moving, recovering. The den doors were being rebuilt. Not silver this time, iron, with locks that open from the inside. Her requirement. He'd agreed immediately without question. She watched the builders work. First time she'd been outside since the claiming. First time voluntarily visible. Pack wolves nodded to her with respect. She was the arbitrator's mate now. Protected. Legal. Not property. Partner. The world smelled fundamentally different. Pack scent included her now. She belonged somewhere. Not as possession, as a person. I can't stay in a den long term. He looked up from where he was reviewing council documents, listening. Even with new doors and inside locks. What do you need? Sky, space, freedom to move. Northern mountains, he offered it carefully. Isolated territory, open, no walls. She considered it. 18 years of hiding made part of her want isolation reflexively. Part of her didn't want isolation anymore. What about other white wolves? Pause heavy with implications. You're the last one. The weight settled on her shoulders, the last of her bloodline, responsible for nothing except herself, free to be just herself. Just me then. A knock sounded formal. She nodded permission. Hadrian entered looking older, grief having aged him noticeably. I wanted to apologize properly. His voice was quiet and humble. I saw my daughter in you. Pause thick with pain. Tried to save her through you. That was wrong. She nodded, accepting the apology. Your daughter deserved someone fighting to save her. But I'm not her. I know that now. Silence filled with understanding finally. The breeding program is dismantled. Matthias looked up sharply, surprised. Council voted this morning. Unanimous decision. You argued before them. Hadrian looked at her directly. We couldn't refute your legal arguments. Matthias turned to stare at her with surprise and concern. You went before the council alone? She smiled slightly. Translator skills turned out to be useful. She'd hidden that action from him deliberately, protected him by handling it herself while he recovered. Partnership worked in both directions. Surprise. They walked together for the first time since the claiming ceremony. She shifted into White Wolf and ran. Pure freedom. Miles of ice and open sky. Every sense is completely alive. Scent, clean air, his wolf following, pack territory expanding. Sound, 4 paws on ice, his heartbeat matching hers, breathing synchronized. Temperature, cold wind, warm exertion, body heat rising with movement. Instinct, run, live, free, together. All of it aligned perfectly, all at once. He shifted into Ice Wolf and ran beside her. Not leading, beside her. Equals. They returned hours later, exhausted and happy. She hadn't felt genuine happiness in ever? Maybe never before this. They lay on the rebuilt den floor together. His heartbeat was steady against her back. Home. For the first time, home wasn't a place. Home was a person. Cubs? Careful, asking, not demanding. Someday? She froze briefly, then relaxed. Maybe, when I'm ready. Your choice. Promise, always your choice. That was why she'd chosen him ultimately. A runner arrived, desperate and out of breath. Firewolf discovered at the northern border. Pause while they process. Female. Rare bloodline. Council is already debating breeding program inclusion. Another pause, heavy with implications. She's asking specifically for help. The arbitrator's help. And the white wolves. Wren looked at Matthias. He looked at her. Decision entirely hers. Always hers. She could refuse, could walk away, live her life finally. Free. She thought about 18 years of hiding alone. Thought about that firewolf somewhere, alone, hunted, terrified, exactly like she'd been. When do we leave? Clear, certain, decision already made. Matthias grinned. Dawn. She was already packing supplies. The northern border, 3 days travel under normal conditions. Firewolf, rare, hunted, alone and desperate. They'd get there in 2 days if they pushed hard. She shifted into white wolf form, visible for miles across the ice. Didn't care anymore who saw. Let them see. Let them come if they dare. She was done hiding forever. Matthias shifted and ran beside her. The ice fog parted around them as dawn broke red and cold. Another fight is coming. Another wolf to save from council control. She grinned. Wolf grin. All teeth and certainty. Her wolf and her human mind finally aligned completely. Same thought. Let's go. They ran north together. Free! The last white wolf. And the ice wolf who chose her. The beginning of something new.